Okay, making sure everything is up to date here. So everything's good. All right, looks like we're up and running as we speak, as I get ready to link this to other places, of course. All right, so we are live, and let me double check on my channel here. Double check. All right. Okay, just making sure you guys can see this and everything. And I do apologize if the as I adjust up here. There we go. I do apologize if it gets a little laggy. Of course, it's about 1:38 p.m. on this Friday, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. December 8th. It's, like I say, 1:38 p.m. Pacific time as I am doing this live. But as you read the title, yes, it's the same title I used in the video before this. But yeah, basically it's pretty much the same, and I'm gonna go more into detail because when I was doing that video, I basically, if I can detach it for a second, I was using this, my GoPro, and I was using it. Hold on for a sec. When I turn it on. Okay, just making sure it goes on. Alright, I was using it. I don't know if you can read that very well. I don't know if you could read that. Maybe you can read it up here or something. I'm not really sure if you could read it. But I was using it at 4K. I don't know. Again, I don't know if you could really. Oh, there you go. Maybe you can read that just a little bit better. But yeah, you could probably pretty much figure it out. It says 4K at 60 frames per second, and and when you record at 4K at 60 frames per second on a GoPro, when you record at 60 frames per second at 4K on a GoPro, or even higher, it's going to limit you to like 8 minutes or something like that. But the lower you get, like at 2.7K or 1080 or whatever, you'll get a little bit more time to utilize. Like if you go to 1080p at 30 frames per second, you'll pretty much get something like, let's say, 11 minutes or so, and that's about it. Or even if you go 60 frames per second, you'll get about 11 minutes. But anyway, like I said, as the title basically says, I'm here to talk about, my time, because as I mentioned, like I said briefly in that video I recorded with my GoPro, my time at Kohl's has come to an end, is what it has. It has come to an end, and what that means basically is I'll be looking for work again, but for the time being I'll be going back to unemployment. Now, I just did my unemployment. I just reopened the claim and everything today, and it basically felt like it was a lot easier than the last time I reopened it, because I think the last time I reopened my claim, my unemployment claim, was after I was let go by Target. And basically I think the reason it was a little bit more lengthy when I was basically reapplying or reopening it, the reason it was a little bit more lengthy in detail was because of the fact that I had been working for over a year at that time. I'd been working at Target for over a year. So basically it took a little while longer and everything. It took a little while longer to do, because of the fact that it had I had to add a few more details and stuff to it than what I did here. Because basically the thing is, if you don't reopen after a year, like if you are working steadily for a little over a year, it's going to basically cause you to reapply. Here, all you have to do, if you're only doing work temporarily like I did, all you have to do is just reopen it and just update, like, what was your last employer and stuff like that, if you will. And I do apologize for any linking options right now, any smoothing of the YouTube. It says it's not receiving enough video to maintain smoothing. That might have been because I was on Twitter X right now, linking the video. So I do apologize for that, and also maybe because my computer is loading a little bit, so that kind of causes issues, if you will. But yeah, like I said last night, basically yesterday, the 4 hours I spent working there were my last 4 hours working for Kohl's for the time being. Now that doesn't mean I can't go back and work for them if I want to. It doesn't mean I can't go back and work for them if I want to on a seasonal basis. That could transition into something more permanent. It just takes the right time and circumstances. Like right now, from what my sister said, they are more reliant on mid shift, night shift kind of working than they are for like morning to mid shift, if you will. So it's a lot more like if you can get there basically in the afternoon and work into the evening, that's a different story entirely. Now here's the thing, as I've said before, things could probably change, and for all I know, I could check the app in a little while, and it'll probably have me scheduled for next week for all I know. But I know it's not going to do that because of the fact that I got my other check this past week. Oh, not this past week, but today I got my other check. Mainly, one of the interesting things about when I was getting paid is that normally our paydays are today because they're weekly payments. So usually our payday is today. Well, because I have a bank, with direct deposit, my bank would usually get my money deposited in there 2 days early. So I would end up getting it on Wednesday morning, depending on whether or not it was a holiday that upcoming Friday, or even Saturday afterwards. Or, I would get it basically an hour after I got out of work. I would be on the bus. I would check basically my phone right here. I would check my phone right here and look it up. And about an hour after I'm out of work and I'm on the bus, it would be in there. And that would usually be, like I said, on a Wednesday. That would be on a Wednesday afternoon around 3:30 p.m. or something like that. So I would check and it would be in there. Again, if it was a holiday, though, that upcoming weekend, whether that holiday landed on a Friday or Saturday, it would go in basically early in the morning because banks would be closed in observance. So they would want to get it out to you a lot sooner than later, or something like that, in my opinion. But anyway, though, I'm pretty sure, I'm going to be, removed from the system for the time being because, like I said, I got the last check today as well. Because I looked online that basically, because I wanted to confirm this, I looked online and it basically said, on your last day of employment, whether you're terminated by being fired or whatever, your last day of employment, seasonal, whatever the case may be, you get the full payment right there, or at least you get a majority of the full payment right there, and that's what I did. I ended up getting my full payment today, my full last payment today, via direct deposit into my bank. Now, yeah, they did hold some stuff off because I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get everything, the gross amount and all that, but no, instead they ended up giving me just, what I would be earning if I was there 8 hours straight every day, all that. They just gave me that, and, that was it. So basically that told me I have to do unemployment and I have to check back a week from Sunday to see what's going on. Hopefully nothing comes up. I don't think it will because, like I said, basically, it's not been a year because, like I said, the last time I opened up my unemployment, it was a year since I had started working. You know, it was a year since I started working and everything. And basically, I had to, like I mentioned, I had to go through all these different answers, detail this, detail that. Here it was more like, hey, update who your last worker was, what was your last amount that you got, gross payment in total, and away you go. And that's what I did, because basically I'm still on record. They give you a year from when they give it to you to when basically you have to re-up, if you will. Like my mom basically has to do it in the summer. Like, you know, I would assume her last day. Let me check my phone here so I don't have to interfere with anything at all. But basically, my mom's last day, I would assume next year, as I turn on my phone here for a second, it's going to probably be about like the second to last Saturday in June. Usually that's what it is. So let me check the time here. Let me check the time. Well, not time, but the date. To kind of get an idea, basically, of when it would be. So we're going over to June, and it would be, according to this, it would be basically the 14th. It would be the 14th, which is Flag Day in June. It would be the 14th of June. That's what it would be. I don't know if you guys can see that really well or anything. But it would be basically the 14th day in June 2024. And what she would have to do is basically reapply. I wouldn't say reapply, but she'd have to reopen because it's not been a year. She's a 10-month employee at her job, which you might say, well, isn't that seasonal? Yeah, it's seasonal, but it's not the kind of seasonal that's like, you know, for the holidays and all that, or the holidays or whatever. You know, it's more along the lines of it's a seasonal job that's kind of like a full-time job, kind of in that category. It's a seasonal full-time job to where, like, for 10 months in a row, she has to be there, you know, with occasional breaks here and there, and days off to observe holidays. But when it comes basically when it comes to the summer, you know, after the 14th, she'll be going on unemployment, which would be like from, you know, the 14th, which would be her last day and all that. And then she would have to check back, I should say, 15th Saturday, 16th. She would have to check up on the 23rd of June to make sure she's getting some money in there. And hopefully she'd get money in there with no problem. So that's about the situation that she would be in and all that. That would be the situation she would be in. Basically, she'd only have to update like how long she's been working. Now she'd be going like, I think 22nd year or something like that. I can't really recall. She'd be going to 22nd. She'd be going 22 years. That this and that and whatever. She'd basically be just updating the information. Updating the information and going from there. Now for me, that's all I had to do, basically. That's all I had to do. Because had I been doing it a lot longer, like I did with Target and even before Target, Walmart, had I been doing it with them, for that time frame, I would basically have to probably not only reapply because it'd be over a year, but I'd have to go through a lot more, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So thankfully I didn't have to do that here, and hopefully I don't have to go through any kind of similar situation like I did last time, where I have to talk to them through an interview just to make sure I get my money and all that. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they still have everything on record, and they know it's me. I gave them the right mailing address, because they have this address on there that, says St. Louis, but it's not St. Louis. The home address, the home state address, the home corporate address is in Minnesota. That's where it's at, but it says St. Louis automatically. I don't know why, but that's what it says. So I'm guessing that's the last address they got for a corporate office for Kohl's. But they had on the bottom, what is the mailing address? So I put the mailing address there, so that helps out in the long run. That helps out hopefully in the long run, so that nothing will be too screwy or anything in the future, as now the video is now the live stream is back to excellent condition and all that. So I do apologize for any lag, guys. But yeah, I will say though, it's been it's been for the short term that I was there, it's been quite a ride. For basically the 4.5 months I was there, it's been quite the ride. There's no doubt about that, because basically the way I got in was my older sister had been working there for at least, I don't know, she says about a decade. I think it's a little shorter than that. It's probably close to a decade. But she'd been working there for a while, built up a lot of, respect with her colleagues. Everybody likes her and all that. And, she's built up, trust mainly as well. So when she basically said, when she probably heard, hey, they're going to need seasonal workers, she looked at the fact that her husband needs a steady job, at least for the time being. Her son needs a steady job for the time being, and I need one. So she's like, hey, what if I get my family in here? And she told us about it, and I got in, and basically I was given a choice of when I wanted to show up. I could have showed up on the 21st, which was around the same time my mom was going back to work, or I could have held off a week and gone in on the 28th. And that's what I did, because my mom basically going back on the 21st, it would have been a little too much for her to go simultaneously at the same time taking me, and also the fact that my orientation didn't start till about 9. My orientation didn't start till about 9, so I didn't want her to basically have to stress for time, leaving early to take me over there, and then I'd have to wait a couple of hours or something like that, so, and that was just my camera in the back, my GoPro powering off. So if you heard any beeping, that was the GoPro powering off. But, I didn't want her to have to go through that. And what I did, and this is one thing I always remember, hopefully, is when I took the bus, what's crazy is the bus, here's the thing. You want to know how long I've been doing the bus system? You want to know how long? I've been doing the bus system to the point that one of the original routes would go down to that parkway area, that Pacific Parkway area, where the Keystone and all that, Keystone Parkway area, it would go down there as part of its route, or part of its route. It would go down there as part of its route. And basically they would go by the Kohls, because there was a bus stop right across from Kohl's. This is like here on one side, you'd have this little center. It wasn't a shopping center. It was more like a little like a little business center, like little business doctor centers and all that. Basically, places you can go into to see a doctor, find out about insurance, stuff like that. Little business district. So it would be right there, right in front of that little business business district center, and right across was Kohl's. So my obvious thought, or my older sister's obvious thought was, hey, he can take the bus, he can get dropped off over there. Unfortunately, what happened, and this was happening when I was working at Target, they changed the routes to the point that they don't do that anymore. They don't do that anymore because it's too out of the way. It's too out of the way. And they're just going to let the commuter buses do that route from here on in. Now, the commuter buses, to me, wouldn't have been a bad option if they were every day at certain time frames for me. It wouldn't be a bad option if they were every day at certain time frames for me. But they weren't. They were not every day. They were not every day. They were like every Tuesday and every Thursday, and that was it. And at certain times. So it wasn't a good option for me. It wasn't a good option whatsoever. And the other thing is, even if it was, the commuter buses would have to come over here, to take us around there, but I never knew when that was going to happen. So basically the bus option, was out of the question except for orientation day. Because that was the only way I was going to get to work. Because there was no way... Because here's what I tried to do. I tried to take an Uber. And basically, as I got close to the Uber time frame, he didn't show. So I said, I'm gonna cancel. I'm gonna cancel because, well, actually, let me correct myself. That's totally wrong. What it was is I was gonna take an Uber, but the more I thought about it and the more I got advice from my sisters, the more I realized that, yeah, maybe Uber is not going to be a good idea. So what I did is I left early to take one of the early buses. I think it was like the 7:45 or 8 o'clock bus, one of them. And I got dropped. Actually, it was the 6:45, 7 o'clock bus is what it was. So I took that bus, and I got dropped off, actually it was what was it, 7:45? I can't remember. It was like between 6:45 and 7:45. I think it was, let me think. Yeah, it was about the 7:45 bus. I think that's what it was. 7:45. My bad. So I took that bus, and it dropped me off over at the Walmart over here. Over in Patterson. So what I did is I power walked from the Walmart all the way to Baldwin, all the way to Baldwin Street, Baldwin Avenue, and I was gonna walk all the way up to the Kohls, even if I was late a little bit to get to orientation. But thank God, a friend from church, one of my mom's friends from church, saw me, picked me up, and gave me a ride up to, up to Kohl's, and I kind of walked the rest of the way. I didn't have no badge or anything that would let her get in just yet, so I had to, walk the rest of the way. But I got there in plenty of time. Thank God she was around to help me out. So after that, I go into orientation. And I'm joining up with other people going into orientation. And I can tell you honestly, there was about, let me see, several people in there that remained till the end like I did, and some that didn't. There were some that I saw in that orientation that I thought, okay, these guys might stay, but they might be placed somewhere else or something like that. But I could also tell in a way that maybe they weren't going to be too with it, if you will. Like maybe this wasn't going to be the forte. And lo and behold, I was right about that. Because what happened is it's not even a month later. I noticed a few of the guys I was working with. One of them was called Boss. Literally, his name was Boss. And I noticed that he wasn't around anymore, and another guy I worked with wasn't around either. And my thought process was either they moved to nights because they could drive, or they just quit. And apparently, I think option B is what happened. They quit. Like maybe it just wasn't like I said, it wasn't their gig or anything. It wasn't their thing, if you will. It wasn't something that they were totally into. And then of course there were some others that probably left as well. But those that did remain and those that came later on, about a week or so later, stayed until the very end. For some of us, the very end was yesterday, and for the rest of them, the very end was last Friday. Is what I'm thinking. For some of them, last Friday was the end. Well, the rest of us, the end was yesterday, if not today. So yeah, basically the first month was really interesting and all that, to say the least. It was really interesting to say the least, because the first day with orientation, basically they talked to us, they went over stuff with us. We did some quizzes, stuff like that. That's the normal stuff you have to go through, paperwork wise and everything, when you're getting orientated into a job. So after we were done doing all that, and even done doing, I think, like I said, a little quiz or a little CBL or whatever they called it, they said if you get done, you can go home, you can leave. So basically, for a lot of us, leaving was like a little after 1. So I got done. I was one of the people that got done that time. And I told my sister, because my sister was there working already, and she told me, hey, if you get out early, just wait for me in the lounge. Wait for me in the cafeteria or something. And I said, I'm already on my way out. I'm already on my way to the bus stop at Walmart. And she's like, okay, no problem. I texted her back and I said, hey, I'm already gone. I'm already on my way to the bus stop at Walmart. So I'll just talk to you later. And she's like, okay, no problem. because basically she became my ride after work. She became my ride after work, and what she would do is she would take me from the job to the bus stop, and in the park area on South Second Street and Salado Avenue, in Patterson, Veterans Park. She would take me there, and I would wait at the bus stop for at least almost, I would say, 30 minutes, 25 minutes, depending. I would wait there, take the bus home, and then let her know when I got back. So that was basically our normal routine. Now, here's what's interesting. Not even a couple of days into working there, they started training us on the stripping, showing us what to do. They started training us on the Amazon, training us on shipping. They took us to different areas, while it was kind of like building up to the busy hours, the busy peakness, if you will, the busy peakness. So they trained us in all these different areas throughout time. Mostly it was in stripping they had us, and then sometimes shipping and all that. But they would, train us in different areas to get to allow us to get a feel of, what it's going to be like working in these areas, just in case our primary area, is not so busy, or our primary area needs to be looked at and fixed, and stuff like that. So, so anyway, that's what they did within the first week. Like, it was mostly stripping for a bit, and then they went to shipping, and then they went to, EAS tagging, tote making. They went, and later on they would have me and somebody else go and do transfreight and receiving, stuff like that. So they showed us everything except a few other areas. I think if we would have stayed there a little longer, I think we would have been trained in Pack to Light, which is P2L for short. Pack to Light, where my sister's at primarily. We would have been probably shown that in a few other areas. I was even trained about a month ago or so on the catwalk. They actually had me on the catwalk a little bit in my area, to where I would use basically, I wouldn't say something like a sword or anything like what you see back there, but more like it was a pole that was bent. It was a hook. It wasn't an actual hook, but it was a pole that was bent like this, like a candy cane almost. And they had them in different sizes. Like one size was like this size, and then another size was like from the door to like right to where you can't see my hand, almost. That's how long some of these were. And the reason they were at different lengths is to basically push the bottom top under the I can't even think of the names right now. Think of the name. The rollers. What they would call the non-mechanical ones, the snakes and all that. Well, they were mechanical. They were operational. You turn them on, turn them off, and all that. But some of the non-ones they would call the snakes and all that. But basically the rollers, if you will, the conveyor belts, that's what it was. Sometimes the boxes in shipping would get stuck like up here on the conveyor belt. Like, I'm looking up at my fan right now, and where I'm touching my fan, you can't really see that, but when I'm touching my fan, basically we would have to reach up and knock the box down with those hooks. And sometimes again, if the conveyor belt going down had a box stuck at a certain length, we'd either use a short one, or if it was like stuck way up there, we'd use a long one. But what they would also do is train us, like they did me, to go up to the catwalk and use a small hook, like about this size, to knock some of the boxes, down and get them to go down the conveyor belt to turn off the red lights. Because there was one primary option, or one primary thing they trained us on, was making sure that we didn't have red lights. They wanted to make sure we did not have any red lights, blinking or solid. Because if they were blinking, that meant, like I just said, a box was stuck. So you had to basically use one of those hook things to knock the box down. Or not down, but knock it loose. What else? What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. And the red lights, the solid red lights, basically meant you had a jam. It's like everything was just stacked up. It's like you see my pony figures right here. Let me see if I can get out of the way here. You see the pony figures kind of stacked up like that? Imagine those all the way up to the ceiling, right? Imagine those figures stacked up one by one up to the ceiling, right? And almost to the point that they're not going to fall or anything, but they're jammed together to where they make one solid line. That's basically what we would have to do too. We'd have to basically go and unjam some of those solid lines with those hooks, or what we would do is we'd go to the trailer if we were doing shipping, or if they will pull us from a department to do the shipping or help out in that area, we'd have to go and take down about 20%, if you will, 10 to 15, not 10 to 15, but 15 to 20 boxes, small, medium, and large, and whatever. We'd have to take them off the conveyor belt and stack them up into walls as best as we could, to get that conveyor belt moving again and turn off the red light. Because if you got a red light, again, that means that basically that's jammed, that's jammed basically, and it's going to cause you to fall behind. That's mainly the issue, right? Mainly the issue there was it would make you fall behind, if you will. So you didn't want that. You wanted to make sure that the red light was off, so that way when you go back and forth on the doors you're assigned to, if you're in shipping, you can have an easier time and you don't have to worry about falling behind or anything, and you could just keep focusing like 15 to 20 boxes each truck, and building a wall with them, and then going to the next one and all that. So, yeah, basically that was one of the things they trained us on, as well, using those kind of, measures like to unstick a box and all that with the hooks and all that, and also basically to keep an eye on for the red lights, because again, the blinking ones meant something is jammed or stuck up there, on the conveyor belt. Or if it's solid, that means you got to basically remove some boxes and go from there after you kind of remove them and get that line moving again so that the red light disappears. But the issue there, though, what I found out, and even those that work there, including my sister, the supervisor, including my sister, but most of the supervisors who know my sister, the one thing they did agree upon is they have to get some of those conveyor belts. They have to get those conveyor belts fixed. They got to get them replaced. But my older sister's like, yeah, they've known about that, but they're not going to do it. They've known about it, but they're not going to do it. And I believe her, because she's done stripping. She's done trailer stripping. She's done trailer stripping. She's done shipping. She's done, Amazon. She's done non-con. You name it. She's done it all. And as I open up another Coca-Cola here, she's done it all, basically. Which basically is why she's now known as a problem solver when it's assigned to her. And a problem solver is basically somebody that will be assigned to different areas of the warehouse to help out, at certain times. So, I'm surprised she never was assigned to my area, and I think it's because I was there. And, there's that old ruling of you don't put siblings or family members into the same area, in the same area of the job, of the job you're working at, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, she's a problem solver at times and everything. And there were times on occasions when I was there that we would cross paths with each other going from, like I would go to break, she'd be coming back from lunch. She'd be going to break, I'd be coming back from lunch. Or we sometimes, even like recently, because they wanted to get ahead, and everything, we would have basically the same lunch. We would have the same lunch, we would have the same break, if you will. So, we would end up having those kind of moments, if you will. And she even, and sometimes would share something with me, and I'd share something with her. She shared a cinnamon roll too that she got from Starbucks, and I had a Reese's, a 2-piece, I had a Reese's Pieces, if you will, candy, and I gave her half. And when I told my mom I gave her half, the other part of the Reese's, she's like, see, she needed that. She needed that wake up call, or something like that. Or she said something to that extent. She said that she needed that. So, we would, like I said, we'd either have sometimes the same lunch or the same break, and sometimes we'd also have we just cross paths with each other. But the one thing we did do, and we didn't do it as much until recently, is we would sit next to each other during the agenda notes, or we'd stand next to each other during the morning meetings, so that way, So that way not only we'd kind of, I guess non-intentionally get across that, yeah, we're siblings, because pretty much everybody there knew we were siblings and all that. But also the fact that we just like doing the agenda notes on Thursdays, we'd be able to sit next to each other like we did recently, and then we'd be able to go clock out and get our stuff and go, and that was about it. That was about it and everything. But yeah, it's been a heck of a run. It was been even though it was a short-term run, it was a heck of a run. There's no doubt. And what's funny is one of the things they trained us about in orientation is they told us about certain things like VTO, like what I took today and what I took yesterday. And they told us about that, and basically they explained that that's something that it's up to you. You're given the opportunity to take it. If you want to take it, that's fine. If you don't, we'll find something else for you to do. But to me, when I looked at the VTO, which is known as voluntary time off, or volunteer time off, it's kind of different. It's kind of different, if you will. Volunteer time off is basically when you have to go and be part of something. You're going to partake in something, either on behalf of the company or not. But it's something that reflects good on you, and by extension the company. That's volunteer time off. Voluntary time off. Voluntary is basically when you get the opportunity to go home and relax and everything. So and just do your own stuff. And they taught us about that. And honestly, it almost feels like when they would offer it, to you, even though they wouldn't clearly say it, in my opinion, even though they wouldn't clearly say it, you could almost get the vibe, almost feel the vibe, basically, that they wanted you to take it. Like, they wouldn't straight out say, hey, we want you to take this because there's nothing really going on. They wouldn't straight out say that, but you get that vibe of they want you to say yes to it. They want you to say yes, because I think honestly what it does is it basically is a money-saving tactic, is what it is. It's a money-saving tactic to where even if you're there working for 4 to 6 hours, basically, they don't have to pay you for the whole day. They just pay you for that time you're there, and then that's it. Saves them money. Or in this case, if they're slow and they feel like, well, there's not going to be really much need for a lot of people, even if they're seasonal or not, they'll give you a heads up the day or so before by email or text saying, hey, we're giving you this opportunity to do VTO. Go to your Cronus UKG app, put it in, and you'll get your time off. You'll get your time, if you will, automatically approved. So, so that's what I did yesterday. And again, like I said in the short video I did yesterday, talking about this, I asked my sister what her advice was, and she said, yeah, go ahead and do it. Because, she's been there before. She even advised me this past week to take my paid sick leave, or else I wouldn't get it. And thankfully I did, because obviously the check I got for this week due to it is big. Because normally if I had been working, it might have been big too, but it might have been smaller. But since I took the leave, it's actually pretty big. But anyway, one of the things I'll remember about this, which is really crazy and everything. One of the things I'll remember is my first experience with VTO. And what it was is it was back in September. I can think about the second or third week of September. And I did a video on this. You can check it out here on my YouTube channel. But basically what happened is the weekend before we had a big storm come through. And even though it knocked off power here in Newman temporarily, it totally knocked out power in Patterson. It totally did. And this was over the weekend. And because it knocked out power in Patterson, mostly in areas like where the Kohl's distributing center is, because it did that, basically it caused a lot of the equipment they need to use to run the ship, if you will, to be turned off. Everything was shut down, turned off because the power ran out, and basically had to be reset. So what happened that day is right after first break, Oh, not right after first break, but it was. Yeah, it was. Was it right after first break? Was it right? No, no, no. What it was it was it was actually, I can't remember what it was. Was it before? Was it after first break or something? I can't really remember. It might have been after lunch. I don't really know, but it was in the morning. It was in the morning, and what happened is everybody was meeting back up in the morning meeting area. The morning meeting area is like as soon as you walk into the warehouse, you stand right there on the floor. They meet, they give you the updates of what's going on, and then you go and do your thing. You do stretches and all that. You go and do your thing. So, what happened was, it was like I think it was like before, like before or around lunch and everything. And we all and we're all told to meet up. And everybody because our lunches were different, but everybody that was, still working while the rest of us were going to lunch, everybody was called into this little meeting. And they were basically saying, hey, look, we got a problem here. And that problem is there's not enough work because certain areas of the warehouse have been, have to be reset because there was a power outage. So what they did is they said, if you want to go home, because everything has to be reset right now, mostly everything, we're going to give you the option to clock out. And a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, a lot of people that Monday were like, we're doing it. We're going to do it. And they did. They ended up doing it. They went, clocked out, done. Done for that Monday. And my sister actually didn't even go in that day because I think she might have been a little under the weather or she did something the previous weekend. And so I called her and I told her and she just laughed about it going like, maybe I should change my thing over to, voluntary time off or something like that. Because she took it off. She knew they were going to be slow, but she didn't think it would be that, she knew they were going to be slow basically because of the storm based on the fact that she'd been there for a couple of years before me or several years before me. She knew they were going to be slow. And she just laughed about it, thinking, maybe I should have changed it over to VTO, and maybe she did. I don't know. I don't really know. But anyway, that was my first experience with VTO, and it wasn't being offered to us because we were slow in certain areas, and all that for certain times, just for regular days and all that. It wasn't like what it would be later on. Instead, it was VTO because of the fact that, certain areas of the, of the warehouse had to be reset because of the storm doing the power outage and everything. So that's what happened. That's what happened basically. It was, it had to be reset because of the power outage. Certain aspects of the warehouse. But of course, VTO did happen later on. It didn't happen like that week. Later that week when we went back the next day or for the rest of that week, I should say. That's what I'm trying to say. It didn't happen for the rest of that week when we went back on Tuesday, but it did happen. It did occur at times in like towards the end of. It happened. It happened at times towards the end of September, and it happened like once or twice in October. But as soon as we hit peak season, at the end of October and into November, and towards basically the beginning of this month, as soon as we hit that peak season, forget it. Instead, what happened is you would get VTO turned into VTI, voluntary time in. Basically, if you want overtime, there you go. And I love the fact, and I mentioned this, I think, in some vlogs, work week vlogs. I've mentioned this before. Anytime the front end shift manager would call us into a little meeting, you could just see the look on some people's faces, like, "Ooh, we're gonna get VTO, we're gonna get VTO, we're gonna get VTO," and instead it turns out to be VTI, and you could just see them. It's the moment he mentions VTI, that excitement for VTO, that excitement on the face for VTO goes. Just vanishes. It just disappears. But they wouldn't have to worry about VTO or VTI being, offered to them or anything after that, because then all of a sudden we go from the 40 hours to 50 hours and everything, which would basically be 4 a.m. to 2:30. Now, for some people like myself, that wouldn't be possible. So we'd have to. So thankfully we had managers that understood our plight and said, hey, no problem, we got you covered. And they would make sure we'd be able to come in at the times that were more suitable for us. And they would I think that was like once or twice. I had to tell them about that, and they said, hey, no problem, we got you, we'll fix it. And they did. So thank the Lord on that. Thank the Lord on that. Speaking of that 4 a.m. deal, honestly, when my older sister told my mom, hey, there are going to be times they're going to probably want him to try to come in at 4, but he's going to have to fix it. My mom, who would be my ride to work, because it would be, kind of an easy transition for her. She would take me to work. She would wait in the parking lot till the sun came up just a little bit more. Then she would head to her job in Livermore. At times when my sister would bring that up, my mom would be like, that ain't going to happen. No, not happening. Nope, not going to happen. Because it's and I even when I would tell my managers and all that, they would not only would they understand, but like with me, they get a little bit of a chuckle because they kind of understood humorously, like, yeah, we get where she's coming from. We understand that. Yeah, we understand that and everything. Basically it wasn't a big issue, with them. To change it over because, again, just talking to them, explaining to it, having a bit of a chuckle and a humorous, a very humorous, understanding, discussion about it. It's like, yeah, basically they're saying, yeah, if we were in her shoes, we probably wouldn't want to do it either, So yeah, again, there were times, when my sister would tell her that it would be like, oh, that's not going to happen, that's not going to work. So thankfully, we didn't have to resort to that kind of a situation. But I will tell you this. Okay? I will tell you this. There were times that I felt like there were times that I wanted to try the 4 a.m. and I was even willing to probably go to the Hampton Inn, which is close by, check out a room for at least a day or so, a night or so, go there, stay, and then leave about like 3:30, and then head over to Kohl's and start working at 4. I had that thought in my mind several times. But God was basically telling me, yeah, that's a good idea, but don't do it. It's not going to work. It wouldn't be plausible. Like, even though it's like God was telling me, yeah, it's a good idea, but it probably won't work in the long run. So thankfully though, like I said, the managers were very understanding about the situation. So yeah, that was so that happened there. And speaking of which, I'm not trying to be mean here or anything. But there were several times that when I was getting up early, because I would have my alarm, my regular alarm clock, which is down there. I would have it set for about 4:10, 4:15, and I would have the alarm set on my clock here. Oh, not my clock, but my phone here. I would have it set for 4:10 and 4:15 in the morning, so that I could get up. Go into the bathroom, get my, take my shower, get my clothes on, get myself ready, get my stuff here, which is all part from Kohl's, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. Get my stuff here and put it on the couch there. Basically get myself prepared. Just get myself all set and ready to go. Get myself a cup of coffee, wake myself up, get my lunch together and all that. And normally at times, the majority of the times, my mom would have her alarm set for about 4 o'clock because she would hit snooze and it would go off every 5 to 10 minutes, to wake her up. And she's always done that. Whether it's her regular alarm or the alarm on her phone, she's always done that because that way it gives her a little bit of a heads up. Like if it goes off at 4, she just can hit snooze, go back to sleep for another 10, 15 minutes. Every time it goes off, it's basically saying, hey, Susie, time to wake. Well, that's my mom's name. But anyway, it would say, time to wake up, time to wake up, time to wake up, time to wake up. And as soon as it would hit like the 15th time, as soon as it would hit like the third the third time going off, that third or fourth time going off, she would get up. But there were times, honestly, and if not recently, to where I would get up, at the time I set, 4:10, 4:15, and if I had time, I would, of course, make my bed. I would make my bed here if I had time. And what I would do is like I said, I would go in the shower and everything. My mom would still be resting, but usually when I would get out of the shower, she'd be already up and ready to go. Because she would hear me going into the bathroom, turning on the shower. That would be another way of waking her up. But there have been times, over this, what has it been, let's see, August to September 1, October 2, November 3, 3.5 months. It would have been 4 months if they would have kept us longer. But 3.5 months, there have been times in these past 3.5 months where I would do that. I would, like I said, I would get up, go in the shower, get myself ready and everything, get out of the shower, and normally, like I said, she would be up because, again, her alarm would go off, but also hearing me go in the bathroom and everything would be her, would basically be like that final wake-up call of like, okay, time to get up, time to get yourself ready. And she would. And as soon as I'd get out of the bathroom and everything, all cleaned up and all that, dressed and all that, she would be up and ready. Oh, not up and ready, but she'd be getting up and getting herself up and, getting herself ready, basically. So what happens sometimes, if not recently in previous months, there have been times to where I'll do all that, but as soon as I get out of the shower, she's still asleep. She's still asleep. So I have to knock on her door and go like, hey, Mom, time to wake up. And she'd be like, oh, what? What do you mean? What time is it? And I would tell her, and she'd be like, oh. And then she would get up. She would basically have to she'd be like laying down like this. She'd be laying down and all that. And as soon as I wake up, she'd be like, huh, what? And she'd get up and she'd, get out of the bed, and get herself ready. She would go get her coffee, or I'd get it for her and stuff like that. She'd get herself ready. And there have been times where she'd be so tired, and rightfully so, because she has a long day. She has a very long day, time-wise. Because, again, like I said, she takes me to work. She has to get up early, or she had to get up early to get ready to get herself ready so she could get me to work, so she could get herself to work and stuff like that, and then come back from Livermore to Newman and everything. So rightfully so, she'd be very tired. And, so I can understand her sleeping in and everything a little longer than she should have. But there have been times where, in these past few months, and if not recently, I'd have to wake her up, and she wouldn't even know, because this is how tired she would be, and I think we've all been there. Even I've been there and everything, so I can't judge anybody, because I've been there myself. But there was times I would wake her up, and she'd be like, she'd be so out of it, she wouldn't know what time it was. She'd be like, it's not even, there have been times she'll be like, well, it's not even 4 or something, da-da-da. And I'd be like, Mom, it's 4:40. I'd be like, Mom, it's 4:45. Or, Mom, it's 4:30. And she'd be like, oh, and she'd get herself up. Because that's how tired she would be, and justifiably so. So, so to me, I didn't want to always have to do that. But, again, she was my only way to get to work. And I know some of you might say, well, you should get a license. Heck, my sister said the same thing. But here's the problem. My mom's truck's a stick shift. I don't know how to do a stick shift. The best option I'm going to have is automatic. And she's the one that has the only automatic, between the two cars. So, so basically I'm out of luck, if you know what I mean. I'm out of luck. Anyway, there have been several times I've had to do that. Several times. And and what's even crazier is, my mom has, being a teacher, she has a schedule that you have to work around. So there'll be times where she would ask me, hey, you need to take this day off. You need to do this, you need to do that, da-da-da. So basically, she'd be thankful when certain days, like certain holidays, like Labor Day and all that, would collate with her, and we wouldn't neither one of us would have to get up and go to work, and all that. But if it was days that were kind of holidays that they had to observe, but I had to work and she didn't, I'd have to basically find a way to, take that day off. And one of the more recent examples was, think, Veterans Day. I think it was Veterans Day, yeah. And that wasn't Thanksgiving because everybody was off Thanksgiving, but it was Veterans Day. In fact, if I can look it up here, get on my thing here, if I can still do it, because now it's past clock out time. But anyway, if I can get this, come on, pop up. And yeah, here it is. It's gonna change. There it is. And this is the UK. You can see it right there. The UKG app. This is what we would use. So, hold on. Let me see if I can still do this. They say they're going to purge us from the system eventually. But there's some people that work at night. There's some people that work at night that are seasonal. So they can't really purge anybody until after this whole day is through. Okay. So let me see. There's the request. Come on. So I'm looking here. It's got my history of requests here. The more recent time off was the 10th. Like I said, that was Veterans Day. Trying to find anything else here. Trying to think here. I'm trying to find some time. Nope, nothing there. I'm gonna take my schedule too because I don't think they would. Nope, nothing scheduled. But that's basically the time. I don't know if you can really see that. Maybe if I lower the light a little bit. Hold on for a second. Let me do that. There we go. But yeah, that right there, that is the VTO that got approved today. But yeah, I don't know if it was Columbus Day. I don't think Columbus Day was something we did or something. I can't really remember. But anyway, maybe it was. I can't remember because it doesn't have it recorded there. But anyway, like I was saying, there were times, like right there with the 10th of last month, you would have to I'd have to work with my mom. So what I would have to do is take that time off. I would have to take it off. And I tried to do PTO. Well, not PTO, but something like that. Didn't work. I had to, and I don't think I would have done PTO anyway. I've been able to do that anyway. But, I tried to do, regular requests, didn't work. So I had to do unplanned absence. And that was the one thing, outside of VTO, if you're giving it a heads up on that, that'll get automatically approved. Along with paid sick leave. Paid sick leave, unplanned absence, and, advanced VTO, those are the only things that will get approved automatically. So, basically, I had to do unplanned absence for the 10th and everything because my mom said, look, I'm not getting up that day, I'm not doing that, and I'm just going to sleep in. So I said, okay. I have to do that. And thankfully, they were very understanding. They were very understanding about that. They're like, yeah, man, that's what it's for. That's what it's for. And what's interesting is I basically have 54 hours, or I had 54 and a half hours almost of unplanned absence remaining. I had 54, 54 planned, 54 and a half planned hours. I just do something there. If you heard a little notification there, that was I didn't turn the volume down on my computer, but basically I had about 54 and a half, almost 54 and a half hours worth of unplanned absence remaining that I could have utilized, but I didn't. But I decided not to because I'm someone that likes to be at work. I like to work, unless again, options are given to you to where it's not your fault they're not being given, It's just the fact that you have to work around them, or it's like, hey, if the company's offering it, who are you to say no to it? And that's how it is. And with my mom, it's basically one of those situations to where the 10th I had to do it. I had to do it the 10th, and I think I had to, and I did it the 27th, and I think, let me check my thing here again, if I can get back on it. I think I did it also on a Monday that my sister wasn't going in. Let me check my thing again here, if it lets me. I got to log in again. But I think I did it on a Monday. I think like last week or something. Can't remember. But yeah, basically. But like I said, basically, if I can get this to pop up here. Here we go. Oh, come on. Hold on. There it is. But anyway, I'm double checking because, I'm not somebody that likes to, take that much time off and everything. So, I'm going to look here for a second. See, so the unplanned absences that I had at work for the 10th was automatically approved. That was approved and everything. For the 15th was approved and everything. That was was that? Yeah, it was. It was approved, but it was only by 18 minutes, so that wasn't a big deal. Let's see. 20th was approved. Let's see. And the 4th was approved. Yeah. Oh, no. What's the 4th? No, that's paid sick leave. Unplanned was, like a full day, was the 27th and the 20th. The 27th and the 20th. The 20th one of November, I think that was my sister. She said she wasn't going to go in. And then the 27th, that was my mom. That was my mom basically not wanting to get up or anything. Because even though she could have worked that day too, she has enough time at her job to where she's like, I'm requesting the 27th of November 27th, which was a Monday. I'm requesting that off because she wanted time to relax, recharge her batteries, if you know what I mean. And that's what she did. And it also gave us time to put up our tree and everything, which we did as well. But yeah, outside of that, if I can bring this up again, outside of that, I don't miss that much time. That's the problem. I never really miss that much time. I never really missed that much time. In fact, that's the request again. Let's go back. In fact, if I look at the calculates here, unplanned absence was 54.93 hours. So 54 hours, 93 minutes. That's what I had remaining. Because they start you off with 80, and then over time, once you use it, it goes down. So, the only time it went down, like I said, was the 10th was in November, really. That's the only time. The 10th, the 20th, and the 27th. That was it. Those were the only times that they went down. But, outside of that, outside of that, I was always there. Even when they would offer VTO, I was there. Period. But yeah, like I said, it's been really interesting and everything over there. As a matter of fact, one thing that did happen, and this is the second time it's happened at my job, any job I've worked at. We had an employee. I think I've seen him once. I think I've seen him once or twice, and then he was mostly all nights. We had an employee there pass away. He was. I guess it was. Something happened to where he was getting an operation or something that occurred, and he just passed away at the hospital or something. I can't really recall. I can't really tell you much, but yeah, my sister knew him, and like I said, this is the second time this has kind of happened at any job I've worked at, because the last time it happened was during 2020, during COVID, and we lost a coworker that I had worked with for basically 6 years. I had worked with this coworker for 6 years at Walmart, and she passed away because of COVID. So yeah, it was the second time, but the difference was I didn't know. The difference was my sister knew who this guy was for the many years she worked with him, and I barely even met the guy. I probably, like I said, probably saw him like once or twice, on the floor. But I kind of understand where she's coming from and what some of the coworkers that I worked with are coming from, that worked for him for a long time, or worked with him for a long time, because I felt basically the same way when my coworker I worked with for about 6 years passed away because of COVID. So I kind of understood that. I kind of understood that and everything. But yeah, it was. Basically, it's been a heck of a ride and everything with this job. There's no doubt about it. One thing that was interesting is that when my sister wouldn't be there, I'd either decide to walk, to the bus stop, or someone would give me a ride. And there was one time I was going to the bus stop, and my coworker, basically, she's kind of like I wouldn't say she's the supervisor, but she's more like the manager. She's more like I guess you could say. Well, she is kind of a supervisor. She's a problem solver, is what she is. She's a problem solver for the area, which is basically short for co-supervisor. Basically, it's short for a supervisor to an extent. Well, she's basically a supervisor, but mostly just, not like a, seasonal supervisor or specialist, but basically somebody that, is put in charge. Like, she's the manager of that area. And she saw me one time, and she's like, "I'll give you a ride to the park area," and she did. And I called my sister, and she's like, "Okay, cool," and everything, because she didn't go in that one day. And then another friend of hers did it before that, and so I had ways of getting to my bus and everything, either by walking or getting rides, which was pretty cool and everything. But yeah, it's been like I said, even though it was a short run, it's been a heck of a run. There's no doubt about it. It's kind of crazy to kind of see what you go through with this kind of a job. But I will say this: even though it's really physical work, and it is physical work, it's a lot more. It's a lot more. I guess you could say. Even though it's hard physical work, it's more laxated, if you will. It's more. I guess you could say down to earth, more comfortable, more like, hey, you need to get the job done. You need to try this and that, but it's not like, hey, you got to be on your toes kind of deal. It's more along the lines of, it's more laxated. It's more at ease and all that, and only will pick up when it needs to. It'll only pick up when it needs to, or basically the specialist supervisors will say, hey, we need to do this, you got to get on, we can't fall behind, or you got to do it this way and that way. But most of the time outside of those things, it feels more like, more at ease, feels more less, I guess you could say, stressful, in my opinion. Like, now, let me explain. You will get stressed depending on the kind of day you're going to have, or how much, pressure sometimes the specialists and supervisors will give you because they'll be under pressure. But most of the other time, it's more like, hey, do what you can, do the best you can. If you follow this, you should be good to go. Because they'll tell you, hey, if you're doing shipping and if you, like I mentioned earlier, you follow this protocol and everything, you should be good. Oh, you do this in shipping, you should be good. You do this in Amazon, you should be good. And speaking of Amazon returns, it's basically like shipping. It's basically shipping in a sense. It's mainly shipping. That's basically what it is. It's shipping, stripping combined, if you will. It's one department. Stripping in Amazon's one area. So when you do stripping of the trailers, you take the items out of there, you palletize them and all that, or if they're not already palletized, if you got time and it's not much, you take it over to Amazon. Amazon takes care of it. They scan it. They put it on the conveyor belt. They scan it, push it down to the trailers that they need to go into so they can be sent to Amazon, which I'm assuming is the Amazon right there in Patterson or an Amazon in Tracy or even Turlock. But and they're divided. They are divided into separate categories. You got hard, soft, and non-con. And you'll have RAS, or RAS as it's called. RAS is something totally different. But yeah, basically that's what it is. When you do Amazon, you basically rotate the positions. Sometimes you'll do one position twice, during your time, during the time you're over there. And sometimes you'll do all the positions. Like you could start off by throwing the stuff, basically, opening up, start off by throwing the stuff. In other words, what you'll do is you'll take one of the pallets that was palletized, that either you palletized or somebody else palletized the day before or the night before, or even that day. You'll take that pallet, you'll get your knife, you'll kind of cut down the shrink, you'll kind of, cut down the middle of the shrink wrap, to, tear it off and, get to the boxes and everything. And you'll start putting the boxes onto the conveyor belt so that they can go and get scanned for the, the trailers they need to go into. So you could start off doing that. And then after you come back from break, you could end up going and doing, a trailer, basically, working a trailer, building up walls and all that for the trailer and everything. And then after, let's say your lunch, you can come back. You can end up doing scanning, which basically means you'll be standing like in front of a trailer, like you'll be in front of the conveyor belt, like I'm in front of you right now. Conveyor belt could be right here, and you'd have a device in your hand, and you basically be going like click, click, anytime something for whatever trailer you're working on is heading your way. So you could be at hard, and you could be just waiting for the stuff to come down to you, and you go click. You'll be working in non-click, soft, click, and then there you go, and you push down to the person in the trailer so they can build a wall up, if you know what I mean. But yeah, Amazon's basically like shipping, except basically it's kind of like trans-freight shipping combined, if you will. Trans-freight shipping combined, if you will. And speaking of trans-freight, one of the last things we did was a trans-freight in Amazon that was kind of like, last second. And thankfully the guy, one of the specialists that was there the other day, thanked us for doing that via text and email by saying, hey, I know it was last minute, but thank you for doing what you could to get that done. Because we were in the process of doing our trailer stripping, and getting ready maybe to do Amazon ourselves, and then we got pulled over to do that, which again isn't a big issue. It's a job. You got to do your job. They're going to tell you, hey, we need this done. You got to get it done. But like I said, it's done in such a way. It's done in such a way to where it's like, even though you got to get this done, you got to do it certain ways. Again, like I said earlier, it feels like it's more at ease, more comfortable. It's more of a comfortable home-like setting, if you will, that sometimes will pick up when business, picks up itself. It will. But yeah, it was a heck of experience. I can tell you that. Doing all of that combined, including even non-con. Basically, non-con is when you're pulling, you got a pallet and you have a pallet jack and you have a pallet on that pallet jack, and you're pulling it across the floor, around shipping and all that, around the shipping area, and the pallet that you're pulling is full of stuff. And sometimes the stuff could be heavy, it could be light, it could be a hybrid of both if you will. and you're pulling that, and what you're doing is you're looking at the boxes, you're looking at the certain numbers of the boxes, and you're scanning them. You're scanning them because they got to go to certain trailers. Because those, and sometimes the trailer could be going to like Sacramento, it could be going to Bend, Oregon. Believe it or not, we did have those kind of trailers, or even Anchorage, Alaska. We have those kind of trailers. So you could be doing that. And you could be doing that mostly for all late hours. Unless they transition you to something else. So basically, and I've done that. I think I did that like once or twice. I think I did that once, maybe twice. But it's one of those that to where, hey, it's a job, you're gonna do it. You're gonna get trained. You're gonna be trained. It's a job. You're gonna be trained to do it, and go from there, and see how well you do. But yeah, like I said, heck of a run. During these past 3.5 months, I will say that. One thing I did like about it, and my other jobs have done something similar, but not to this extent, is they would actually do stuff to commemorate certain things like Veterans Day, Day of the Dead, or Month of the Dead, as they put it, because what they had us do, and I took part in it, is they would have us go and bring a picture of our relatives that have passed before us. So I took pictures of my grandparents on my mom's side and my grandma on my dad's side, and brought them in, and they had them on the wall. They kind of tacked them onto the wall and left them there for about a month until we were finally able to obtain them in the offices, in the supervisor office, on the warehouse floor, to take home. And I put those pictures in my mom's room so she can have those. But yeah, I took part in that. Halloween, you get to take part in that. You dress up a little bit, take a picture, group shot, and all that. Just real fun. And one of the other things they did as well, and they did this recently, last month and this month, is they catered. They gave us a catering. They did catering for us, and I think they catered like several times. I was there, like 3 times. Times I was there, they would cater. Or they would treat us to something, like it was popcorn or whatever, or not churros, but it was kind of like the little chips, and all that, churro chips or whatever they were, Mexican kind of chip, pinwheels is what they were. They would treat us to those, but then like last month, and then of course yesterday, they would treat us to Mike's Iron Barbecue out of Modesto. Mike's Iron Barbecue out of Modesto, and it's good. It is really, really good. And they would do that for us for Thanksgiving and this time Christmas, because basically the way the holidays fall, there's no way they'd be able to get Mike's Iron Barbecue out here in time to do that, because he would probably be booked up as well. So they would do it early and everything, because it worked out that way as well. The other thing that I kind of enjoyed, and I know everybody enjoyed this, not just the seasonal workers, but I noticed a lot of people that have been there for a while enjoyed this as well, is they would basically do on Thursdays the agenda notes, like I mentioned earlier. And these agenda notes were basically their way of going over what they already talked about in the morning, but also talk about, like the status of, certain areas, certain departments, and everything, in the warehouse, like what goal number, like where they're at number wise and where they need to be and stuff like that, and so on. And then at the end, they would tell us, okay, this is what the schedule is going to be. And sometimes they would tell us, hey, we're back to 40 hours, and everybody would be like, oh, thank God. And then sometimes they'd be like, oh, yep, we got to do 50 hours, and people would be like, oh no, it's like, that was kind of the environment we would have on Thursdays. And normally you would think, well, why don't they just save that for Friday? Because basically they want to, in my opinion, I think they just want to have a heads up on it. They want to say, hey, we're going to let you know, so that way when you leave on Friday, you could just go home. You don't have to worry about, sitting in a a dusty old room for 20 minutes listening to people telling you what's going on and everything. So they would choose Thursday afternoons to do agenda note meetings, and sometimes they would not do them. Like yesterday, they didn't decide to do them because it was slow, VTO, and of course, one of the managers, she was, and this is the one that worked with me on my schedule, so thank God on that. She was on PTO for the week, so she was gone for the week basically, and even though they could have done the agenda note meeting, they didn't. They decided not to do it because I think it was too slow, and they knew not many people were going to be there. So they would. So basically, it was like, yeah, they wouldn't do it, but most of the time they would, just to give you like a heads up of what's going on. The other things they would do is they would actually do things in association, like with the Day of the Dead, or just whatever. Like they did a loteria, which is basically bingo, the Mexican term for bingo. They did a loteria, that. They would call us in during our last breaks to do that. Like we'd be sitting in the break room or on the outside in the break porch, if you will, smoking area, if you will, for some. And then they would say, "Hey, come on in. We're doing this or we're doing that," and we would come in and we'd take part in it. And at least it gave us a break from, basically working for a bit, and kind of help us like quicken the day a little, faster. The other thing that they had at the job too, and it was on the warehouse floor, but it was separated by a barricade, like a yellow barrier, that had two ways of getting out. Like you get out one way and then out the other, so you can get quickly back to your departments. What they had in that area was they had couches. It was a lounge area on the warehouse floor, but they had like couches and everything that you could sit on, lay down on, and they also had some games. They had a cornhole game, if you will, and they had the axe throwing game. But it wasn't the kind of axe throwing game that you see in arcades or anything, or you see at certain areas that have it with real axes and everything. No, what it was actually was basically the kind of axe game that you would find at stores that they would sell during the holiday season, which is basically plastic axes, being thrown into a plastic dart thing, if you will, to where when you throw them, they will catch, they won't fall or anything like that. So they had that, and I tried the axe game for a little bit, which was kind of fun, and everything, kind of fun. They also had like a little picture mural that they had of all the pictures they took throughout the years, of what they would do around there and stuff. So they had that, which I thought was kind of cool and everything. But outside of that, it was just a good time over there at Kohl's, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, really did. Do I think I'll ever go back to it? If I don't find something in between now and then, especially at the start of the year, if I don't find something between the start of the year, I might just look into it again. I just might do that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But overall, it's been a heck. Like I said, and I know I'm repeating myself here. It's been a heck, but it has been indeed a heck of a ride. It has indeed been, a heck of a ride. As a matter of fact, this here is the bag they gave us on orientation day, and it's actually my second bag because the first one I had kind of started to break, started to rip a little bit, like right about here, started to rip a little bit. So they gave me a new one, and here's what's interesting too. They have this vending machine that you would use, and this is it right here. You would use your card to scan to get what you needed out to help you out with work, and you would be able to get things like these. These are the gloves they would give us, and everything. In fact, let me put it on so I can show you. And this is just like the last pair of gloves I use, and you can see how wear and tear they get just based off stripping and stripping and doing shipping and all the other titles, all the other jobs they might give you. So they gave us they would give you a chance to get two of them, and of course I have my extra pair of glasses right here, so I can put these back now as we speak. Put these back right now. And this is our work knife. It's like another knife I can add to the collection. It's called a cleaver exchange. And these two you could get through the vending machine as well. You can get these through the vending machine. So I'll put this over here with my other knife. And then the pins here, these are my pins and all that. I just brought them from work. I brought them from home, so these are mine. I can put these back as well. Well, there goes one on the floor. And then my earphone. This is the one thing I did like about them too, is they let you listen to music or your podcast, if you will, or your scriptures if you like to listen to the Bible. But the only catch is you have to have something like this, or if you have your wired headphones, you only have to have one headphone in there. So there are these. Like I said, and those are my gloves and everything. But like I said, with this is what they recommend you have. You have something like this. This is my MPOW 1 headphone, and it would work. I would put it in my ear like this, and I would listen to my music or whatever I'd be listening to at the time. So, so they would advise you have something like this. And you might say to yourself, well, what if it dies on you? Well, that's where I came prepared, because I would bring something like this. This is my charger, one of my chargers. So I'll put that back over here. And this is a marker they gave us. This is to help mark certain things like boxes and everything. One girl I would work with, because sometimes with stripping of the trailer stripping, they would pair you up with somebody if it was too big of a trailer, like if it had too much stuff. Or if you were assigned to it yourself and you were getting close to done but not totally done, they would send somebody in there to help you, because they've done that with me. They've had me go and help somebody and vice versa. And one girl I recall would take her pen and she would just put down the date and everything on the shrink wrap after she shrink wrapped the thing, or if it wasn't already shrink wrapped. Because what they would do is they would give us these little I wouldn't say stickers, labels. They would give us these labels, and it would say 12/4/23, and then on the bottom it would say 12/6/23 and everything as the drop date. Like, in other words, 12/04/23 is when it came in, 12/06/23 is when it needs to be taken care of, basically Amazoned, if you will. So one girl, like I said, would take this and just mark it because she didn't want to use the labels and all that. So they gave us that. So I'll put these, like I said, I'll put these back here. And then this here, this is my original GoPro USB cord. My original GoPro USB cord, if you will. So I have an extra one. But I kept it, I had this with me because of the fact that it was the only one that actually would stick. It would be the only one that would actually stick into my, it'd be the only one that would stick actually into my phone. So when I would do this, so when I hook up my thing to a charger, I had this one. This is my Anchorer charger. I would put it in there if it worked right, and it does work. You just got to have it balanced a certain way. I put it in there. I'd put the cable in here, and then I'd connect my phone, and then it would charge. Or if I didn't need to charge my phone and everything, if I didn't need to charge my phone and all that, if I didn't need to charge my phone, I would be charging my MPOW 1 headphones, and I'd be doing it like this. I'd be connecting it like that, because it's a magnetized charger. You see, right there, the magnetized charger. So I'd be doing that, putting it in, and then bending it up like this, because that's probably the best way you could do it, and then I would allow it to charge. And I'll just put this over here for right. Actually, let's see. I'll probably take care of that a little bit. But yeah, that's and then there's my cover for my Anchorer battery, my Anchorer battery, if you will. And then that's it. That's pretty much, there's nothing left. It's empty now. Empty. Just another bag. But yeah, I'd have a lot in the bag. These were just things I needed, because sometimes, if I was charging the phone and everything, and I needed to charge my battery as well, I'd have two batteries to. It's not my phone, but not my battery. But if I was charging my phone, and then I was, charging my phone, but I also need to charge my earphones, I'd have an extra battery to do that with. So what I'm going to do with this, so I'm going to put that in here. Actually, I have a little something in here. Hold on. I have a little something in here. Ah, there it is. My MPOW thing. Yeah, there it is. My little case for my MPOW. Put it back in the case where it belongs. You know. Till next time. Till next time. But yeah, those are the things that we would have. And like I said, with the gloves and the knife, you know, they would give us the opportunity to get those to a vending machine by scanning our badge right here and going from there. And then, of course, that's like a little thing on the back, a little code and everything. That's a little code. And I think that's the number you would type in if you didn't want to scan your badge. That would be the number you'd type in. And a lot of people would do that when we would clock out or clock in. A lot of people would just type in their number and that's it. And this here, this is how we would hook it. They'd hook it on our shirt or a jacket like that, if you will. We'd hook it on our jacket or something like that. And this is not the original hook. My original one was blue. But last week, basically, I think it was Friday or Thursday, the blue one broke. And one of the HR ladies, who's also a problem solver, who's wasn't there this week. I'm thinking she's now on maternity leave or something, because she was pregnant when, you know, I was there. Basically, she gave me, she had an extra one on hand. I think she has like extra ones on hand just in case somebody needs it. She gave me this one, this hook right here to replace this because, like I said, mine suddenly broke when I think I had it on my hoodie, on my jacket, on the string part, and it just broke. And it's never done that before. It's never done that. So, anyway, this is pretty much, but pretty much so, this is how I would scan to get in and all that. Like, I would scan right here. It'd go, like when we go into the door, like when we'd have to get into the warehouse, basically there would be like a little scan thing. We'd go, click, you know, it'd beep and let us in. And then when we got inside, there's a little, what's the system? A little barricade thing or whatever, little gatekeeping thing. You just put the thing and you would put it on the gate. You put it on the scanner on the gate thing, if you will, and it would open up and let you in. And then of course there's another door. You scan it right there, and you get in. You go right to the lounge area, the lunch area. Put your lunch away or whatever. Go to the lunch. You put your lunch away as well as anything else in the cubbies or lockers you might have, and then you head to the warehouse to where you clock in. And if it's a regular 40-hour week, you meet up with everybody. You do your meeting, your stretches, and all that. Go from there. Or if you're somebody that has to be there, not at 4, but at 6, because the 4 o'clock 50-hour thing don't work with you, you would end up going down to, by default, you would go to your area and see what's needed, and they would either assign you a trailer to strip, or they say, hey, you're assigned over here, go to Amazon, they need you there. Or they would say, hey, they said when you get here, you got to go over to these areas and shipping and work on those truck areas, to help keep the red lights down, or that's where you're going to be today doing shipping of the trucks and everything. So yeah, like I said, like I said, one heck of a short run, I will put it that way. And again, it was good. Very well, like I said, more down to earth atmosphere than I think I've ever been in a while. More, like I said, more relaxing, more of a laxated kind of environment than I think you could ask for. Because again, even though, like I said, there will be times they tell you, hey, you need to pick up the pace, you need to do this, you need to do that. They wouldn't be on you as much. They would just give you pointers of how to do something to make sure it gets done quicker. And over time, once you get used to those pointers, you're good to go. But yeah, been been one heck of a run. And I know I say that a lot in this video. I do apologize. This is what happens when you do things unscripted and without bullet points and all that. And you just want to say what you got to say, But yeah, it's been one of those kind of short runs, if you will, seasonally, seasonal or permanent, but in this case permanent, that I wouldn't mind doing again. I wouldn't mind doing it again if the opportunity presented itself. So, anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to come on here and give you this bit of a more extended, more, I guess you could say, unfiltered, live thoughts and everything, on my short run, if you will, with the Kohl's Distributing Center in Patterson. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about what I've had to say here? Have you gone through something like this with jobs? Let me know down below in the comment section. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And let me know what your thoughts are, doing these kind of jobs. Do you kind of agree with me that this kind of an environment's more relaxing than a regular retail job or whatever? And would you ever do something like this? Let me know. Comment below. Live chat during the premiere. Here, well, not live chat. It's not a premiere. It's live, I should say. But let me know in the comment section and all that. And until then, guys, I will talk to you later. But again, let me know what your thoughts are. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until then, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Let me know if you've got anything similar at your old job, like, with the